If you're new to the channel, would you go ahead and subscribe and hit that alert bell for us? Then, of course, please leave a comment about anything you want to say. We love getting comments from folks. Well, hey everybody, it's David. Now, today we're going to talk a little bit about another question that I get asked a lot by Filipinos and Filipinas, which is, and it's kind of a two-part question, which is, why do Americans want to live in the Philippines? Is it because of cheap women and cheap booze? And then another question that kind of always came right behind that was, what's wrong with American women? Well, now let me tell you, I'm going to address the first question first, why Americans want to live in the Philippines. I'm going to address the second question, which is going to get me in a lot of troubles, in a different video. So just sit back and listen to that. So here's what I would tell my friends, and when they would ask, is it because women, are easy and the booze is cheap in the Philippines? And I say, well, yeah, of course. That's one component of why American men and foreigners like the Philippines. Now, that's not the whole story. Absolutely not. So before you hate me, that's not the whole story. But there is a big component of American men or men from other countries that go to the Philippines because they think the women are easy and that it's cheap alcohol, cheap drugs, whatever they're into, and they can live on a very modest budget, being a player in the Philippines. Now, that usually long-term doesn't work out so great for anybody. So, but that's a big part of it. Now, another part of that, and I would tell these folks this, a lot of the guys can't hack it in America. So, and I know, boy, this is going to make a lot of my friends mad, but there's a lot of American men or men from other countries that go to third world countries because they cannot hack it. Maybe they don't make enough money to live a decent life in America, which is understandable. Or maybe they got so much child support coming out, or so many ex-wives, or they've been burnt by, this girlfriend or that girlfriend, or the family doesn't have anything to do with them. So they don't have any real reason to be in the United States, because maybe they fell out of love with the United States. There are a large group of guys that, and let me break that down into two categories. There are a bunch of guys, what I call people that just couldn't make it or hack it in America. They would be very, very low functioning here. There's no way that a beautiful 30-year-old Filipina in America would give them, or American woman would give them a time of day because, they're low on the food chain. So, but in the Philippines, they're higher on the food chain. So that is one category. The other category is the guys that are just disillusioned with the American government. And let me tell you, that's easy to do with the way of life here. So, and I would tell folks, that's a component of this. So we have the guys that are basically what I consider can't hack it in America, and the guys who just fed up with America as one. But the most important category of the men that live in the Philippines are the ones that want to be family men. Now, yeah, maybe they're older than their wives, maybe they're not in a lot of cases. But what they're looking for is a family environment. And sometimes in the United States, having a true nucleus, a family environment that cares about each other, that has the time for each other, just really doesn't happen here so much. But you can find that in the Philippines. The Philippine culture, just exudes family. And I know there's a lot of drama about the money and how much money you give and all that garbage. But if you take away the money issue, there's family there. And I tell people that the Philippines culture of like that is what I would consider the way it was in America back in the 50s. So the guys that want family, maybe this is their second chance to have a big family, to look after them, to be a part of something. That is the real reason most Americans, I believe, go to the Philippines to live. So now, I will say this. I think men who have been through the military service do much better in the Philippines or any third world country for that matter. I think military men and women do better overseas than non-military folks. And this comes from my getting to know so many military guys and so many non-military guys. And if I really compare all the people that I know that live in the Philippines or go back and forth, 6 and 6, whatever, 7 and 5, if I look at all of those guys that I know, the ones that are truly the happiest, the ones that feel at home the most, and that can just roll with the drama of the Philippines better than anybody, are the military guys. So my hat's off to you guys. I asked one time, why do you think a military buddy, I'm not in the military, never was, so that's not what I mean, a buddy who was in the military, I asked him, I said, why, here's my theory. My theory is that military men do better. And we were talking about it, and I asked him, I said, so why do you think that is? And he laughed and chuckled. He's like, well, let me explain it this way. If you're in prison and you get out of prison, everything is better. So his concept was like the military is great and hard and difficult, but the crap you go through in the military, the things that you learn, how you're able to adapt and deal with things, allows a military person to get to the Philippines and go, traffic's really not that big of a deal. The fact that I can only get one thing done a day, really not that big of a deal. So compared to other people, non-military folks. So that's my other thought on that. Military guys do way better in the Philippines. And I would tell my friends that. Thanks. It was good to see you guys. Take care and talk to you soon.